Hello everybody. Today we continue in our journey about constructors in Java. Let's talk about constructor chaining. What is constructor chaining? It's about one constructor invoking another constructor in the same class. Let's say we have an example like this, a colored point 2D, where we have this constructor that receives three parameters, a color and a coordinate here, and we have the three fields here. And when we execute this, let's say run Java application and full constructor, it means that initialize the color X and Y, which is the expected value for a constructor. But there are cases where we need more than one constructor. Imagine a situation where you have a file where you receive a list of points, but no color is provided for the points. It doesn't matter the reason. Sometimes there are these kind of requirements when you are integrated applications and importing, exporting, transporting information from one service to another or application to another, and this sometimes happens, and we should be ready to handle them correctly. So we need to create a different constructor, because we don't have the option to say, okay, to the other entity, you should provide me a color. Maybe they don't know which color, they just have points, and they don't want to say, okay, I think it should be white, because it's not their system, it's our system that is receiving the list of points. So it should be our system to decide which is the default color, considering where this class is being used. So what we need, we want to call this constructor, and what do we want to initialize and say the information that we have X, and then but we should initialize the color, and we can say something like color equals, let's say something like this, and this is our default color. If you look at this code, you can see there is some kind of repetition here. This is the same thing, and if you look at this color, it is the same thing, but I'm providing a different value that probably can be provided by any other initialization. So if we follow the good practices of developing, we want to, it is the preferred way is to call this method, this constructor. Say, okay, can I call this constructor from here? It will call the correct or the standard way of initializing the object, meaning that I just want to call this one and pass these values as parameters. So I will concentrate my code in just one place. And this is possible. We should use the word this. This means that I want to call a local constructor. This word can be used in other methods to refer to the own instance, the instance that is created or being created. And when we write this, we can say, okay, we want to provide three parameters, and you can just put our color, our X, and our Y here, and we don't need any more this. And we have cleaner code here. It's more readable, and our initialization is it still in one place only, meaning that if there is some change that I want to implement in my class, I just have to change here, and this constructor will receive it for free. Now imagine that we this class is used in a kind of serialization, deserialization platform, and we want to initialize these points using an external library that doesn't know about the constructors and just needs a default constructor, and later will set our attributes values. Some of these kind of tools work like this when there is serialization and deserialization of classes, and maybe other reasons to um, to require this kind of behavior. So again, it will be something like this. Let's say if as a default initialization, and again probably we choose this color to be our default color, our zero color. Probably this is red or something. And again, we have the same problem because again, we have these three parameters and again, we have the initialization and we can apply the same rule here. Now there is a decision to take. We can go like this. Let's say 0, 0. This is one way to go, right? Because this is our default or full implementation of our construct, the correct way to initialize our object. Or we can think about maybe I want to call this constructor because he already knows about the default color here and just pass something like this. This is a decision to take. I don't have a correct answer for this because you cannot, there are different points of view here. One is, okay, this is the default constructor that I want to create my objects. If no information is provided, everyone should use this constructor. So if there is different constructors here, I should always call this one. And we should use this one. But I can counter argument, say, okay, but I have a default color here, and again here, it's a kind of a repetition. But okay, you can always put something here if you want the color, and you don't have that problem anymore, and you don't have to initialize it. Or maybe you put in a constant here a default color, an attribute to the default color, something like this. And you can use here or here the default color. You can always counter argument any and for any choose that you want to do about the constructor. Maybe this one it's the correct one. We are writing this, but we can always define an enumerate or something with the default color or a constant here, but it's not in the scope of this presentation. We are just talking about the chaining, but you can always try to argue about it. Another reason to avoid this one, call this one, which by the way, call this one, you are creating a real chaining, but a complex chaining. At some point, you start to lose your focus, saying, okay, I'm calling this one. Why? Because it provides a default color, this one. It's like you have a constructor to provide default colors and another constructor to fully create the object. When the discussion starts to be like this, where you have a lot, if that, if that, I have to know this, I have to know that. A constructor is about to initialize an object by using a class definition, and this is the default one, the correct one, the one that where we develop all the logic to initialize the class. Maybe this should be the one that you should always call in any constructor that you add to your class. So this is about constructor chaining. That it can be more complicated if you use inheritance, but that it will be in a further post. Hope you like it. Put your comments. Be free to comment, ask your questions, and see you in a next video.